All right. Well, while we're getting settled in, whether you're filled with cheese or not, or you have a trusty companion by your side or behind your back, I trust you with those claws, ma'am. Thank you. We are going to we're going to go over a way that you can think about plotting out your own Vampire the Masquerade Chronicle. Chronicle being campaign, something shorter form, would be an adventure, would be just like a story, Doesn't have to be a one shot, but, whether it is a story or whether it is a. Well, there you go. So speaking of offering shots. Meow. I know. But we have to get some work done, ma'am. Okay? Can I get some work done? I want to demonstrate things for people to think about. Yeah. No, I'm happy I give you things to think about, too. Even you are not immune. Yeah. All right. So how is it that we can plot out our plot points? How can we make a storyline? We draw a line. By the way, we're going to get a big dose of this in November for another NaNoWriMo special. There's a couple different ways we can do this. And I'll spend just a little bit of time on each because you'll pick whichever one works best for you. Let's do this. Heretic, are you able to lurk for a while, or are you going to bed? Are you tired? I'm here. All right. Heretic, for as much or as little as you know about Vampire, I want you to help me. Give me a city. It could be here in Ohio. It could be Toledo. It could be some place in the forbidden north of Toledo. It could be some other place maybe you have a vague familiarity with. And we're being serenaded by Bane. All right, we're going to give this a totally edgy and irrevocable title of Westlake After Dark. All right, now. Bane, what kind of a story should we tell in the World of Darkness? Is this a group of anarchs looking to stake out their turf? Is this an elite group of the sheriff's hounds going after masquerade breachers? Is this just kind of the Scooby gang of vampires rolling into town? What is the pitch? What kind of a story should we make taking place in Westlake? All right, so it could be a story about someone finding their place then, or to find the friendship or companionship along the way. Now, the start of our story, that's in part up to our characters. They could all be from the Westlake area. They could be, again, traveling in town, a mix of everything. But if we want to have a story about themes of finding acceptance after rejection, because the undead aren't unpeople, they still have some feelings too. Might take a little extra time to find them, but they're in there somewhere. Could be part of a traveling circus. I suppose they could. A coterie influences, like influences a circus. People, and so none of them are going to question because they're in the thrall of the vampires. Yeah. All right. So we have an opening here of the circus comes to town. Woohoo! And now, how often we might have a strong opener. Oh yeah, I imagine it. The caravan of like the semi trucks and everything's rolling into town, dark and stormy night. Something else. You might have a song that comes to mind. You have this establishing narration of the humans doing all this other stuff during the day. They get all the decorations set out, and then the last thing that goes up are the coffins. And even though this isn't a TV show, we have the narration of as the coffins are set, you know, the humans leave. And then we almost have like a smash cut to the coffins burst open and monsters fly out. The audience gasps. Oh, gasp. As it turns out that during this night show, the vampires are performers as well. And so that's a fun way that we can introduce like some of the characters and what's happening, at least what they're doing, and you keep their interest, and you can have a fun little even gotcha right there. So the circus arrives in Westlake, but how is this going to conclude? For any of you out there, like Sierra, if you're still out there, what do you think would be the grand conclusion to this story? Is this going to be overcoming some person of power? Would this be finding an artifact? Would this be needing to escape a Second Inquisition raid? What is going to be the grand finale to our story? We have a story taking place in Westlake, Ohio. The theme is about finding acceptance after rejection, and our coterie is a group of disparates that have run away to the circus even in death. And this could be a fiery conclusion, just a joyful one. What kind of an ending do you see to this story? What is going to be that resolution to the climax? Oh, hey, ready? Or are you committed to the laundry room until you fold all the laundry or something? We may have lost Sierra. All right, who do we have hanging around then? Noctis. Oh, no, there we go. There's Sierra. I'm picturing an animal rampage, maybe an elephant going nuts. Okay. So this story is going to take us from the circus arriving in town to the resolution to everything is an elephant on the loose. Oh, we're being serenaded by heretic trance too, it seems. And now we need to get our group of vampires from one end to the next. Now we can do this through a midpoint method where we say, all right, there's got to be something that happens in between the circus arriving and the elephant rampaging. And so what might that midpoint be? It could be the confession of one of the ghouls or retainers that they no longer are going to be a part of the circus. And this is a person who might easily be able to fit into the role of a touchstone for one of the coterie members. It could be the head of the circus announcing retirement, saying, "I have sold the circus. It's been a pleasure performing with you, but I got an offer I couldn't refuse, and the American people just don't have that same spirit anymore." Or something. It doesn't even have to be a touchstone. But what you can do is go through and say, this would be a threat to our vampires. Why did that... This would be a threat to our vampires because they were using the circus for food and shelter. This means they're going to have to scramble. They might be abandoned in Westlake. And how would they survive there? This could also play into finding acceptance after rejection. So we have our disparate fledglings. Yeah, I'm from this city, and you know they might have some musings of, well, this is what happened, and this is why I'm here. And then finally, the final rejection. Even the showrunner has said the show can't go on. And this is going to lead into a series of events that brings us to an elephant rampage, which may very well break the vampires free. They thought they had the circus under control, when in fact it might have just been the circus having them under control the whole time. Whoa, deep. And what you can do is continue to make these points in the middle. What is a notable point that happens between the circus arriving and the final show is announced? And you can sit back as the storyteller and think about the other elements that you would like to involve. As you chose the setting, Heretic, what would be an interesting vampiric location in Westlake to gather, to hunt, for there to be some sort of conflict? Something that could involve other vampires, the Second Inquisition, whatever. Where is a locale that something can be discovered or something happens? Because after all, our vampires are going to be in town for a while for the circus. They're going to have to get to know the place. Oh, all right. I'm sorry. Yeah, you had mentioned that. And so something is going to happen at the chamber. Now, you might even choose to mirror this on the other side. If this was the halfway point here, you might go, well, I want to at least have them come back one last time. And this could end up being something where they revisit the chamber once more. The final show's been announced, other things have happened, and they need to go to the chamber. But in this time, instead of whatever happens here, it's this is a shootout, or this is a Second Inquisition raid, or this is actually the coming together with the plan, where everyone was just sort of a bitter individual before. They actually come back to the club, they dance, listen to music, and they say, we've got to solve this. We've got to find a way for this to happen. And if you don't want that, you don't even have to have that either. But don't be afraid to revisit locations, to have that bit of sentimentality, or to sink in a milestone in the story. Sierra says, distracted vampire trapeze artist flubs a catch. All right, Bane. Hey, thank you for lurking and hanging out. I appreciate it. Clown was hung by the tightrope. See, now, that's what's interesting. In this instance, if a mistake happens that should have hurt or killed a performer, and it doesn't, you just performed a masquerade breach in front of a lot of people. And that is an ever-present threat. You don't always need the Masquerade or the Second Inquisition. Well, the Masquerade is a very ubiquitous but pervasive presence. But if you're a performer, then you have to be extra careful, because as a human, if you hurt something, it hurts, and you also can't operate it. As a vampire, you can feel pain, but pain is not necessarily the same. It's just sort of like a damage indicator. It can still hurt a lot, but it's not necessarily the Houdini Act went a little too far. You know, or because of that, someone in Westlake is going to debunk the performer that can supposedly hold his breath for 5 minutes underwater. Now, obviously, vampires don't need to breathe. But then you get someone snooping around. You get someone who's not necessarily an enemy, maybe a rival, but a mortal rival to a vampire. And what happens when that person finds out a little bit too much? Do you have to kill that person? Can you silence that person? What if it's a Ventru? You know, what's the performer's name? Puddle's Pity Party. If you haven't seen him perform on America's Got Talent, or he has his own videos on YouTube too, check out Puddle's Pity Party. But let's say that there's a Ventru who is a clown like Puddles. Ventru, many, not all, many have the power to tell you what you just thought. They can cloud your memory, that they can... Bane, go to bed! They can cloud your memory, they can rearrange your memories. But you have a mortal who aims to debunk the... Well, I'm glad that such a dispassionate clown can incite you. All right, be well, Bane. And the Ventru player might go, "Oh, this is easy. I'll simply tell this person to forget what he saw." And that might work in the moment, but what happens if you have a methodical investigator, even as a human, who may have forgot exactly what was seen when peering into the trailer, but goes back home and has meticulous notes that he always trusts, or a hidden camera, because cameras don't forget like cloud memory can have a human forget. And maybe that actually causes the person that investigates to redouble their efforts. What's going on here? Now it extra doesn't make sense. I have a hole in my memory, but I know this happened. There's irrefutable proof. I trust my notes, and I trust my video. What happened? Was he trying to be a mentalist and try and hypnotize me? I'm going to have to look into this more and be more cautious, or be more skeptical, or whatever else. And throughout interactions like this, you can plot this out, and you might go, a Vampire the Masquerade story taking place in Westlake, Ohio, centered around a traveling circus. I thought all the vampire stories were supposed to be, ancient power plays, and everyone finds out that the prince is always corrupt and can't be trusted, or everyone has to brood and sneer on the rooftops wearing sunglasses. They don't. And we have just discovered, by making a couple little lines, that you can do something amazing. And it still can follow the Masquerade, even if they're anarchs, because the anarchs do need to maintain that anonymity as well. They may not agree with the traditions or the enforcement that the Camarilla offers, but that is a common ground in the Venn diagram of the two organizations, is that the Masquerade exists and should be maintained for everyone's benefit. So this can very much be an Anarch story, a Cam story, a mix of both. How do these vampires feed? Well, you don't. It's not like in a D&D party. Well, I'm playing whatever. Heretic is playing the wizard, so I guess I can't be a wizard too in a D&D party. Baloney! Get out of here with that. You absolutely can have two wizards in a group in D&D. It's fine. Even if they're both divination wizards, that's cool. You can have vampires that have the same feeding style in a coterie. In this case, maybe maybe they are alley cats, most of them, if not all of them. Because this profession, if you're going to commit your unlife and do so in a way where you perpetuate and survive, because you can make a living doing this, you're going to have to feed. And so the circus, wanting to live or work in a circus, attracts a certain kind of person that has a particular set of interests, and availability that allows for it, a culture or a lifestyle that is more open to this kind of travel and show of skill or face. And such, vampires that have infiltrated a traveling circus would have a certain personality or feeding type that makes them much more successful. Maybe one or more is a Sandman, so that they can just go into town. They travel often enough that they can break into local places or to a hotel if people are staying in a hotel nearby as well. There's a lot of different ways you can do this. Maybe all four of them are Toreador, kind of the classic yes, art and performance. Or all four are Nosferatu. Or there's a Toreador and a Nos on the team, and both of them are clowns that actually have a healthy respect for each other. Because the Toreador always tries to outdo the natural appearance of the Nos and can never get it. And meanwhile, the Nos tries to have as good a singing voice as the Toreador. Hey, Vancouver. But realizes that in order to do so, she has to either plug just a natural hole that's always in her neck now after being turned, or modulates her voice by almost crushing her neck. But due to the state of her body, it doesn't exactly hurt or do damage. It's just off. But maybe actually the Nos can sound like the Toreador. The Toreador can look like the Nos. Think about something cool like that. What kind of shenanigans or hunting can be done between the two of them? If the Nos can sound like the Toreador and the Toreador can look like the Nos. Where do they get their food? Well, I mean, if they don't necessarily live in Westlake, which, Heretic, how large of a city is Westlake? If you either know or can do some quick Google foo. Yeah, so the performance is 3 short vamps in a trench coat. And hey, ready, maybe if any of them were embraced from if any of them were embraced from performance culture, obviously small people are in entertainment and acting and everything. You might actually have a short vampire. Toledo-ish or bigger? Okay. Is Toledo? Toledo 100,000? Like I know, like Toledo's not. It's certainly a populous or a known city in Ohio, but it's not like a huge city. It's not a Cleveland, but um, about how large, like population wise. All right, so Westlake has 34,000 people in it, depending. Um, that can sustain. That can sustain one coterie generously. If you're doing maybe one vampire for every 10,000, they might have to be a little buddy buddy. Now, if you as the storyteller are willing to be more generous with the ability to hunt or obtain blood, then maybe it actually falls to 1 in 2,000, 1 in 3,000. But still, we have extra vampires rolling into town that are going to compete against the locals for the blood supply. And this, the fact that any of the performers are kindred may or may not be known to the kindred of Westlake, whether it's run as a anarch territory with a baron or a cam city with a prince, or if for some reason Westlake falls under the purview of the Prince of Cleveland, but has the Seneschal as like a viceroy of the large suburb of Westlake. And so the Seneschal, in all manners, can speak of, by, and for the prince, but the prince doesn't necessarily need, full everything going back. Anyway, so there's conflict with the locals. Or you might go, well, all right, so how can 3 or 4 vampires survive just traveling with a crew? Well, of course, they'd have to subvert the circus, mind control them, blood bond them. There's a lot of ways to do it. Everyone doesn't need mind powers to do it. You can do it through your blood, or there's other means. You might trade a boon to another vampire to establish kind of that psychic link. You did a favor for a Tremere, and that Tremere was able to use some blood sorcery in order to through like a form of that or dominate or something, in order to reprogram someone into saying, oh yeah, you've been my best friend forever and we're gonna stick together forever. And you go, oh yeah, we're totally BFFs, even though you met not that long ago, but for as long as they know, they've been programmed that way because you did a favor for a Tremere, 5 cities back, that just lingers. So there's many ways to accomplish this. It's just a matter of creativity. Now, if you wanted to make a vampire, if you said, no, I want the classic sewer lurking nos, I want the hideous beast that summons down a tower full of bats on my enemies, that character wouldn't fit into this kind of a story to be presented. And you might recall that the book said, look, talk about the story you want to present with your players so they can come back at you with character ideas or ask questions. In this case, how we're playing it, this is the story we want to tell. I, as a storyteller, want to challenge my preconceived notions of a static setting, of one place, of a dark and brooding city that sprawls and has navigable on-foot sewers and rum-running tunnels and all this other stuff. When you go out to the suburbs, as the crew of the Red Deemer found out, you don't get navigable sewers. You get sewers that are in storm drains and stuff that are a pipe that might be 2, maybe 3 feet round. You don't get New York City subway tunnels in the suburbs of Cleveland. So that classic lurking nos that can summon bats down from, castles from up on high, you're not going to get that in Westlake. or maybe even really at all with a traveling circus theme. But if your players are up for the challenge and you want to explore what could this be like, where your stories, it's really city by city. And the coterie that is developed encounters different cities and different challenges in each, but realizes they all have to come back to the same rail car or the same semi-trailer or whatever, is they have a traveling base and they have to go hunting in different places all the time. They have to survive in different locales, and they might get enemies, such as people who investigate them for their tricks, for their magic, or a jealous performer. I don't know. Out there in the great wide, even just the US, we have 380 million people. Somewhere out there, there is a little girl who says, I can outperform, doesn't know that it's a vampire, I can outperform that acrobatist. I remember my parents would take me to the circus, and that's what infused in my heart the desire to dance and stretch and flip. And all of a sudden, even though it's not some sort of a deadly rivalry, from Sioux City, Iowa, comes a 24-year-old acrobat who shows up to the circus in Westlake and tries to apply and outdo the resident acrobat. And there could be conflict there. Because not just do you have someone who wants to investigate and uncover, you have someone who fervently wants to get close and to know more in maybe confidence or with hope, which can be just as dangerous. Look, kid, you don't want to stick around me too much. No, you've always come across as a really nice person, right? I have 5 of your autographs. Yeah, but you really don't. Why? Haha, did you eat beans? It's okay. No, it's really not that. I'm just not the type of person you want to stick close to for too long, all right? Quit being silly. And you get that, and you're like, this kid, I mean, like a 50-year-old vampire, let alone who could have been like 30 or 40 in life, is now trying to shake this ephemeral mayfly of a human, this mufflehead, if you will. Maybe her name is Muffy. Is trying to, shake this mufflehead away, or shoo the mufflehead away. That's persistent. Meanwhile, the other member of the coterie has to deal with a snooping magic debunker, etc. And do we have any kind of princely power plays? No, there's probably a prince or a baron out there somewhere. In fact, you might even be in the presence of the prince or the baron who deigns to come out and see the performance. Or at least send an enforcer to make sure the masquerade isn't breached. No pressure. But you are being watched. And look at all the conflict we found. Look at all the opportunities that are here. And you can keep filling in at the midpoints. James, Randy, and Muffy, the vampire botherer. You can unwind this entire hero's journey. This doesn't have to be a 3-movie Peter Jackson extended cut trilogy to get. You can do this within the confines of a story. A story, I mean, it could be a one-shot. It could just take, I don't know, you're going to play for... Hello, Hatter. Baron Victor Temple, yes. Oh, all right then, Hatter. Well, thank you for the heads up on that. Oh my goodness. That is a lot. Speaking of powerful men wearing funny hats. No, not just the king and his crown, but Hatter with his signature hat. Thank you very much for deigning to spend time in our domain. That is very generous of you. So I'm going to give I'll abbreviate the quick shout out here. So, Hatter has chosen Styles, Afterfov, Antarctic Doctor, Van Sunny, Eat to Surf, Night Mage, Chiefsten, speaking of other vampire streamers, Jazel, Vic Van Hazel, OMGM, hey OM, a fellow forever DMGM ST, Dysfemist, Tan Hyrol, Free Range Minis, Mornian, Rizert, Freestyle, Chosen the Slime. Congrats on your gifted sub. Gisp, Enfer loves you. Oh, I haven't seen Enfer in the channel in a long time. Enfer, I don't know if you're hanging out, bud. If in the random pool, that's what you got here. But Enfer, I hope you're doing well. It's been a minute since I saw you. And Hunter, JK Hunter Twitch. So thank you, Hatter. I appreciate the heads up. I feel bad, like, oh my gosh, I didn't want to suppress the joy because I love the fanfare and everything. I got to find a shorter fanfare. I got to find a slightly shorter fanfare than the Mario one for the gifted subs. But I appreciate your generosity, Hatter. You have consistently been a part of. You've consistently been a part of just our workshop, sharing your story about recently coming into role playing and really latching onto it and pursuing it. You have a wonderful personality, my friend, and I appreciate that consistency that you've shown here. Probably something like, if I stuck with Mario, it would probably be more like a coin, like a padim. I'd keep the message up for a little bit, but it wouldn't be the full fanfare. So you can just straighten this line out, and then boop, there you go. And then just imagine that it recoils at the end, not recoils. And you can also fill in what happens. You can make your own little curves here. What happens between each session that is going to get us from the circus arriving to, apparently I misspelled visit, visit the local goth club. And again, if you want to draw it out, then draw it out. Let's have our fun. So we have our narration. There's no real risk to the vampires. They're coming onto the scene doing things that they've done for years now, presumably. Then we get into the revelation, the setup. And maybe now it's a safe territory, but they need to go out and they have to start hunting. Because while they have arrived, they've probably arrived a little hungry. And so we can think about a way to start increasing that. So they go out and start asking questions, putting their fangs and feelers out there. Hatter says, Hero Zone, if you think I haven't been ready for the hype, you're wrong. Man, Maddie's great in and out of stream, and there won't be a moment I wouldn't bring hype to the wholesome information that this stream brings. Thank you very much, Hatter. In fact, I don't know... I might not have Raven here right now. I shall be my own mod. Hatter, HRG. There we go. Thank you very much, Hatter. I appreciate it, and I hope to continue the workshops. I'm not saying that in some cryptic sense. Um, and of course, tomorrow night I'm going to be broadcasting from the store, and it'll be a hangout, sort of a casual talk. We can no, hey, you don't have to go fishing for it. You'll get it when you're here, Hatter. Um, and we'll see if I got something that I can do a little giveaway with as well. And then hopefully we can get those tower to tower capsules turned around. Not only to get all those big items out to you all, but there's something else that I want to announce or open up after that event ends. So a little self-plug here and a plug for Hatter, since we're talking about who we are and what we do with our workshops and our thoughtfulness and the way that we interact with each other. I will step up as often and as many ways as I can. So we have a little bit of a rise here, and then we're heating up. And then we cool off again. Yeah, that's visible on screen there. Though, now that we've already established ourselves in the area, there are some things we learned that we know. The cycle will continue as we come across our next session. Because this has cooled back off to blue. And then we go to green. And if you want to use different colors, please use different colors.
Met is the word of the day. So I'm here for a later giveaway hype.
All right, now Hatter, with that, and also hi Sharky Emmy, it's good to see you. Good morning. Do you want me to give away a tower to tower entry with that, or do you want me to put that into a general pool of funds to start out tomorrow night's giveaway? And thank you, Hatter. That's awesome of you. It has been a while. We've been having fun. We've been learning about Vampire the Masquerade. Now you might notice there's not as much of there's not as flat of a cooldown coming into this next point, into like the halfway of the overall story. I'm taking it pretty far here, but we can still have some kind of either a cliffhanger or a cool-off point. But you'll notice, in fact, this one could even be shorter. And then now maybe we need a lot of investigation. The final show's announced, and we come up here, and then we have a little bit of a spike. That hits, and then we'll move into a longer cool-off period. Whoops. I made that line. We want rising action, so it'll come here. In fact, this was short and fierce. So we're ending with tensions high. We get back into it. Then There's not much that's going on. We have a very quick, here's the last thing that we needed after we started. Such great heights. Boom. Big event. And then we crash back down because now the elephant rampaged. We managed to corral it without getting gored or stampeded. And it's time. The circus moves on. Either with or without the vampires, or it moves on in the fact that it disbands, or that was the thing that was needed to get the circus going again. And then we actually ride things out back at a general low tension. And you can almost look at this like a graph. If we were to make another axis here. If this is a graph of tension, you can see that our peak in our first story is actually the same amount of of complexity or tension or danger as the catching our breath of our fourth of our 5 sessions together. Because as we learn, we got to keep things exciting. But over the course of a session or the story overall, we're going to have our ups and downs, but it will be a build-up until there's a natural resolution to everything. Hey, Emmy, don't apologize. If you're here, you're here, and I appreciate you being here. But if you have to work or study or you have friends or family that require your attention, those are your priorities. We'll always be around. You can catch VODs or the YouTube later. So please don't worry about it. A poll? Okay, I'll run a poll for it then, Hatter. I'll run a poll for it tomorrow. And if you see this, hopefully this is making sense. And I also don't want you to panic and go, well, how do I measure this? How much tension is too much? Hi, Afterfov. Just keep it in mind. Build off of what happened last time and continue to build and build and build until we get to a point, we've breathed in and out, but we finished the race and we don't need to continue to ramp up our heartbeat and our breathing as human runners who do have metabolic processes and not be undead. There's not a hard and fast rule for this. Your players don't know what to expect from your story, except that hopefully it makes sense. And they can look back and go, oh, okay. All right, take care, Cyborg Larry. Thank you for lurking. So this isn't a hard and fast scale. Something that has distinctly measurable moments where you say, if I don't end this game on a tension level 3, I failed as a storyteller. Just realize that there is that coming and going, the tides that go in and out, breathing, the cycles of the moon, the seasons, it all happens. It's all churning and tumbling forward. And you roll this forward and forward and forward, and you can get a lot done and tell something compelling, even about a traveling circus that has been infiltrated by a coterie of vampires. And this story takes place in Westlake, Ohio. And we want to tell a story that's more about finding acceptance after rejection. This would be some team building, right? Your social encounters or your social combat might be along those lines. Not necessarily a physical encounter, but that can serve as the backdrop to team build, to trust fall. Wrangling an elephant, for sure, could be a physical altercation that doesn't have to be the biker gang shoots shotguns at me, or the Bruja goes on a rage and tries to tear my arm off again. You can still have some intense stuff. You can an intense encounter, especially when you're a vampire and you can destroy people very easily, either their mind or their body, or both, or their soul, is knowing you can, but having the restraint not to. Because it is tough to answer some questions that come up when you do. And so if the one vampire might have an actual threatening altercation with the magic debunker, because the vampire can't act differently than a vampire. Even though this person's probably annoying, probably, getting close to inciting a frenzy, or is too close to the truth and is making the vampire nervous. Because maybe, while the vampire is hungry, the vampire doesn't want to leave a body behind, nor does the vampire want to break the masquerade. And in this case, can Westlake After Dark... Oh, you know what? Heretic, if you're still out there, what about this for a story name? We start with something generic. We can do something a little bit more... custom. What if it was Spotlight on Westlake? Because the spotlight requires darkness, and it is the focus. And so in this series of VTM stories, where the traveling circus goes city to city, it's the spotlight, right? Spotlight on Westlake. Spotlight on Illyria. Something along the... I don't know, that might be clever. The graphic would probably be, you have like the dark stage, you have like the spotlight coming down, but then you can put some little fangs or little glowing eyes in the dark off of the cone of light coming down. All right, Reddy. Thank you for hanging out as long as you did, and congrats on getting your laundry done in the meantime. Sharky says, I have a cool one-shot I'm planning. Do you mind me giving me feedback? Yeah, I can give you feedback on it, Sharky, if you want to talk about your idea. I'm just about finished with this, and if you want to bring up your idea, then I'll give you some commentary. And there's probably other people in here who can too. But you can see, using the hero's journey, or using an idea like this, which probably defies the norm for many of us, what we might consider to be a good or somehow a traditional chronicle in the world of darkness. This works. And it very much can work. And if you have a storyteller excited about the concept, it's okay if there's a little bit of hand waving that goes on. Or if, some extra experience is floated at the beginning to make up for something. Or to show that you've been a part of the show for 10 years now. Yeah, you're not a new vampire, but... or to trade off. Yes, I will give you these advantages up front, but I'm going to give everyone this flaw. It could even be something where none of them are event true, but they have a prey exclusion because they've fed so long on a certain type of clientele that goes to the circus that none of them can actually feed on, I don't know, some anathema to it. You're not breaking the game. You're not dishonoring the spirit of vampire. You're leaning into the setting. The setting is a character in the story, like what we talked about. You're giving an opportunity for all of your vampires to shine, because they each have their specialties in this regard. and you can still provide them internal and external conflict. Again, and not just the beast, or the need to hunt and have blood. You're giving them conflicts that will bring up moral decisions, that will bring up physical altercations or the avoidance of it. After Five says, also there's the ego trip of walking among your food supply with them not knowing how close they've come to death. Yes. And that could be a thing for one of the vampires, feeling like that shark in the water. Vancouver says, vampires basically Trolley Problem, the home game. Yeah, you know what, Vancouver? That, and I was talking about kicking the can earlier. Not kicking the bucket, but I guess a vampire has to do that too. Someone else, today's problem is someone else's problem tomorrow. It is very much the trolley problem or a kicking the can in many regards. Okay, have a good night, Sugar Plum. I hope this was entertaining for you. There's something amusing. Oh, so if it's a clown that walks out among the rows of people, among the moms and the kids and the dads and everyone else, and he's trying to work up the audience and looks at someone and says, "Oh, give me your best moo. Come on." Moo. Oh, audience. You can do better than that. And then the crowd goes wild. Moo, moo, moo. And so everyone's mooing, and the clown has a big smile on his face. Moo. There we go. Tell you what, you gave me a very powerful moo. After the show, and then whoop, a ticket comes up out of his sleeve. After the show, come by and see me for your prize. I got something special for you. And then the guy's like, the guy's like, oh, I got the ticket. I'm going to go get the prize afterwards. And the family, yeah, go. We want to see what it is. He's like, just you, though. You're the one who mooed. You have the special ticket. And then he goes back to the, after the show, he's escorted to the back to get his prize. And he's just fed to the clown. It's a meal ticket. There you go. Can I get a moo in chat, everyone? All capital letters, M, then 4 O's. Let's get that. Let's get some moos in chat, please. And it works. And the best part about the kiss, the blood sucking with the fangs, is unless you have a particular flaw where your bite actually hurts and is terrible, when the ticket winner comes back around, it's almost like nothing happened. He remembers having a good time, and whatever. You give that person a circus cup. Yay! It's a plastic circus cup that has has the person's picture on it, right? So the clown came up that'll go on your prize. And then forever and a day now, that person has a cup with their face on it that, so they got the novelty. They got that was really good. I was in such a tizzy. And then they go home. None's the wiser. Oh, you need 4 O's, Vancouver. 4 O's. It's clever. It works. It's a cover. And then what do you get to do afterwards? Good old, we were presuming a Ventru was playing Puddle's Pity Party style clown. Good old Puddles, the Ventru, goes back to his trailer. And as he's taking off the makeup, because, Ventru have a selective palette. So he probably like particularly targeted the guy that he was going to give the ticket to. You know, and he's you have that moment, right? The makeup's coming off and he just has that almost Phantom of the Opera. Lean into, if you want to make it like corny or like super symbolic, again, the book even encourages it, okay? But as he's taking the makeup off, and he says, I don't even have to do this. I'll wake up tomorrow and I have no idea where the makeup goes, except that it's no longer on my face. But I feel like if I don't take off the makeup, then maybe I will always be a clown. Dramatic look away. Sunglasses, black leather trench coat, on a windswept top of the skyscraper. He can be brooding and edgy, despite having this explosive, fun way to consistently feed every night to stay full. If I don't take off the makeup, then I am the clown. I am the clown. And if you have a player that goes, well, so if we've only been doing this for a little bit, how about X, Y, or Z? Everything can be everything when you are, what's the phrase Derek uses? When you are the strings and dominoes. Everything is as it should be for it to happen. Or if they go, if we've been traveling for 20 years with this circus, why do we only have like starting experience points and a starting build? Well, because players, not only is it good for the story, but in all honesty, you have been doing, as far as vampires go, you live an easy and sedentary life. You are taken places. You have blood supplied to you everywhere you go. What have you had to do that would have challenged you enough to build an extra repertoire? When would you have had time to practice computer hacking? If number one, you don't need to, and number two, you take off your makeup yourself every night, else you are truly the clown. And have fun with your players that way. They might go, all right, you know what? I get it. So we're not fledglings chronologically, but power-wise, because we've never really had to do a lot to challenge ourselves beyond, just the basic feeding and performing your acts, which should be representative on the skill sheets, on the skills and attributes. Then that's an easy on life. And let me tell you how many vampires would love a sedentary life. That is chef's kiss. Can you imagine not waking up and needing to hunt human beings, where the human beings come to you and you're taken by people everywhere you need to be, where you have managed to avoid quite possibly getting caught up in the machinations of court officials and primogens of the Camarilla or the Anarchs? Do you know how absolutely cushy that unlife is? There are vampires that would kill for your spot in the circus. And they would. Which means every once in a while, you're going to have to defend your turf. Because what you got in the grand scheme of Vampire the Masquerade is actually pretty damn good. Yep, vampirism is stagnant by nature. Yep. After Foff says, I met Puddle's pity party, had my picture taken with him, then I bit him. What? Pics or it didn't happen after Foff. Arrest record or it didn't happen. Hi, GMV. Also, Artemis Rose, I'm sorry if I didn't say hi to you when you came in. Sharky, if you wanted me to talk to look at your backstory, let me know. Well, hey, GMV, you came in here right at the end of this part of the workshop. I'm gonna get up and stretch and refresh myself, and I'll see what's going on, and we'll continue from there. I'll be right back. Give me about 5 minutes, everyone. Okay. right, everyone. I have returned. Blah. That wasn't a very good blah. I have returned. Blah. Also, hi, Mushio. Hello. Hi, everyone. Oh, my good golly gracious. Oh, all right. Well, thank you, After Fav. Oop. Oh, it's just that the music's really low. All right. I needed this one, I think. Now, do any of you have questions over storytelling in the world of darkness in Vampire? I tried not to get too lost in the weeds with the terms or the lore. Do you need to know about the Gehenna War when it comes to making your story? No. It doesn't. Does it have to be aligned with the official lore that exists in Vampire? Nope, not at all. If you don't like the fall of London and you want your own London and your own adventures within it, please go nuts and have fun and rewrite the world of darkness as you would like it to be. Because ultimately, at the end of every session, of every story and every chronicle, the question to ask is, did you and your players, or you, your fellow players, and your storyteller all have fun? And hopefully the answer is yes. You did some crazy stuff. Maybe you jumped a shark on either side of that ST screen. But was it enjoyable and you could talk about it for years to come later? Because in that moment, it doesn't matter if you had a brooding rooftop black-clad vampire or a Puddle's Pity Party Ventru clown vampire. It doesn't matter if you all were Ancilla tier elite troopers sent to the Middle East to go discover clues about the Beckoning and fight in the Gehenna War. Or if half of your chronicle was you all as humans before your boss encounter with a vampire that turned you. And the last half of your chronicle for the next 3 months, 6 months, whatever, is you learning to be a fledgling vampire and coming to terms on this basis with who and what you are now. Of learning to say goodbye to friends and family that you'll never get to see again, at least never the same way if you still get to physically see them. This is a versatile and wonderful system that allows you so much creativity and flexibility. If all you've ever experienced to this point is D&D, hey, continue to enjoy it. You like it, and I like you liking it. But if you want to take everything you've learned and the skills that you've built, don't worry about the mechanics. It's build a dice pool and roll d10s. You're looking for 6+. It's that easy. Don't worry about that. Get excited for the story that you want to tell or experience. Do you want an epic power struggle where the meek overthrow the strong? Or the other way around, where it's your job to crush the rabble looking to topple the ivory tower? Because if they do that, they know not what they do. And not only will the ivory tower be toppled, but so will all of them as the masses underneath it. Do you want to be a vampire that hunts other vampires? Cool. Has it been done before? Absolutely. But yours is different because it is yours. In a city, in a story, in a world of darkness that is all yours. Don't be intimidated by new rules or I don't know, D10s. I hardly ever roll those. I mean, I roll those if I'm playing a fighter in D&D. Don't be intimidated by that. Be excited for the stories that you can tell. For the dark corners that the world of darkness, ironically, is a flashlight and lets you explore. That lets you kind of bleed out any negativity, cynicism. That lets you be coy and use innuendo or parody. To be silly or serious. This is a system that very much can accommodate you. It is flexible enough to do it. It is something that is a manifestation that lies in all of your hearts. And I don't mean a seed of evil. I mean a story. You've been to a big city. You live in one. Or you have one in your brain that you want to make up. Last night, we talked about making a custom fantasy city that didn't exist. It was built on... it was built in Yellowstone National Park because during the time of its founding, during the Industrial Revolution, the super volcano threatened to go off. And so industrialists from all over poured steel and money and resources to quickly build this city that has a geyser, a super volcano, as a beating heart for nearly unlimited free electricity, for heating in the winter, which is unlimited and free, and yet for all of the iron and the steel and the steamworks. Where go the humans, so too do the vampires. And if everything else is kept the same, except Yellowstone is now a city instead of a national park, that's fine. You can still have your vampire from New York stop into Yellowstone, or whatever you'd want to call it. You know, current events are still current events. It's just we have to consider that there's this establishment. It could be a megapolis. It could just be, I don't know, it's a sensible city. You know, maybe 60, 70, no more than 100,000 people. Because maybe that's all that can be vented out. But it's a nice place to go and people want to go there. Even if some of the jobs might not be so nice. Or there's an unusual amount of vampires that are drawn there too for some reason. What if there's something supernatural under the ground? Something like the beckoning related to it. Who knows? But that's for you to explore. What is underneath Lake Erie? Why is it the shallowest lake of all the Great Lakes? It's not only the shallowest, but it has... it's something like... It's an estimation where Lake Erie has half of all of the fish population in all of the Great Lakes. There are just so many fish here. What draws the fish? Sure, there's natural answers to that. Or maybe there's something that lies beneath the silt that draws the animals to it. The fish, the bugs, everything else, right? I wonder how many play a Blade type character? Oh, I'm sure many, Mushio. Blade's a popular character who had at least 2 of 3 movies that were pretty good. I mean, I hope that's not too controversial. And even go outside of Blade, a vampire hunting vampires. Look at Vampire Hunter D. You know, look at other I am a monster and I will not succumb to being a monster by hunting the monsters. Look at The Witcher. The Witcher is a monster that hunts monsters. It's just the monster you know, or the monster you can control, because at least it was a human at some point in time. I mean, there is a Witcher RPG, but you could very much play a coterie of vampires that are Witchers. You go out and you bring down the werewolves. You hunt ghosts. You have to actually destroy a zombie uprising. You can do that in Vampire. It is absolutely possible and plausible. The sponges are what's holding us back, GMV. It's a conspiracy. No one will listen. But if it weren't for the sponges, holding all that water inside of them. All right. Well, let's see. What can we get up to, everyone? I'll tell you what. Let's go keep up some vampire fun. I need to get something to eat. We're going to go right into another vampire stream. Ward Diablo for the win, FTW, is streaming Vampire the Masquerade Blood Hunt. And so you can learn a little bit more about VTM and what is a blood hunt. Interesting. Why would one be called? Now, I don't know how steeped in the lore Ward is, but Ward is giving this game a playthrough. It's a chance to talk about vampires, to find out what the game has, and we'll keep things going. So let's go over, say hi, and meet Ward Diablo. I'm looking forward to it. I'll see you there. I'll also be on Discord for a while, but I do have to get up and get some noms, because Wizard Hungry needs food badly. I'll see you over there, everyone. Be well, okay? Take care. Thank you for another wonderful workshop week.